All right, 1-877-573-7825. Let's go to Omaha. Michael's there, listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. Good to have you, Michael. Thank you.
Al, how are you doing?
Doing
Thanks
great.
for your time.
Yeah, doing great.
You know, I've called you on a few occasions during this election cycle.
Sure.
And I had an image, perhaps a hopeful image in my mind of Mr. Trump as a candidate, just as someone who would hopefully kind of steer the ship a little bit in terms of pro-life, and there were certain questions around that. But I do have to say that after Friday's video, it just was a very hard thing for me to hear, and I pulled it up, I listened to the tape, and I had this almost visceral reaction to it.
Right.
I was very surprised, and which actually, I think a visceral reaction to those words is actually not inappropriate at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So I guess the reason I'm calling in is that I was upset about it. I feel as though he's going to have a really hard time, actually winning the election, and it caused a lot of deep thought and perhaps maybe even some despair over the weekend. I was frustrated, but I think there was a point there. This harkens back to what you are always reminding us of, is that there is always the church. There is always. But look at what the church has endured. By God, I mean, it's just been through hell or high water, and here we are, and we are in the midst of an uncertain time, of a challenging time. But I mean, no more so than our parents, our grandparents, their parents. I mean, so I guess I wanted to call. I was edified by what we're trying to do here in Catholic Radio, what we're trying to do here as a Catholic community. The church remains. The church is there. The faith is there. And presidents will come and go, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And I told my wife, I said, I felt like I was holding on to kind of God and country, right? I'm a private service member, God and country. And I feel like, okay, America, I love you, but I'm watching you die a little bit here, and it's a hard thing, Al.
It's heartbreaking. Don't minimize the significance of it. I'm not sure how old are you?
I'm only 34, so I'm not very old at all.
You got a little more resilience in you than I do. This has been absolutely heartbreaking for me. Being raised during the Cold War, you see the United States as the champion of liberty to the world. You grow up and you learn later that Jack Kennedy was a womanizer, but nobody would have reported it in the 1960s because to do so would have absolutely destroyed his presidency. Now we're to the place where people will consider a president who's talking about grabbing women in private places, and I have to say, as grotesque as I thought that video was, I wasn't surprised by it, and I think because I knew of Donald Trump in the 1970s and 80s, where he was the icon of worldliness. If Christians had to pick somebody who was an icon of worldliness, Donald Trump would have popped up, He was a womanizer, he was manipulative, and all of this. So I never saw The Apprentice, which I think was the rehabilitation of his image. Because I've seen lots of Christians who don't seem to remember why he was so despised by Christians in the 70s and 80s. And I think The Apprentice showed him in what is really a presidential situation where he's making tough decisions and he's acting with strength and benevolent power. And I think that cleaned up a lot of people's memories of him. It didn't clean up for me. And so when I saw the video on Friday, I thought to myself, well, how much does this actually change anything? We knew this is who he was. It's like these emails that we're getting now about Mrs. Clinton, where we're finding her aides are bashing Catholics, conservative Catholics in particular, calling them that they've bastardized the faith, that we are Catholics because we like the Church's twisted gender relationships, that we're ignorant and don't know anything about Christian democracy. I'm not surprised by those things because I know that's the way she and her team think about us. That's the way it is. Right now, we're at a time in American political history where, sadly, the strongest argument for Mrs. Clinton is that she's not Donald Trump, and the strongest argument for Donald Trump is that he's not Hillary Clinton. So that's why I keep saying, fall out of the web of these political machinations, because it's ugly, and it will do you spiritual damage. And go back to what the church teaches. And that's why I love what Archbishop Aquila said. You know, Catholic voters must make themselves aware of where the parties stand on the essential issues. The right to life is the most important and fundamental right, since life is necessary for any of the other rights to matter. There are some issues that can legitimately be debated by Christians, such as which policies are the most effective in caring for the poor, but the direct killing of innocent human life must be opposed at all times by every follower of Jesus Christ. There are no legitimate exceptions to this teaching. So I keep coming back to the issues, and trying to, here where we work, we keep trying to keep focused on what the church teaches. The church is our holy nation. The United States is not our holy nation. The United States is our mission territory. The church is our holy nation. Michael, thanks. Good hearing from you.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah. You're going to hurt for a long time on this. My experience is all indicative. We're seeing the loss of a truly great nation.